Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Luciano and I make videos on the internet. In today's video, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite jump chain topics. And if you are new here, jump chains and other choose your own adventures are something that we talk about pretty frequently. Although I create a range of content, so if you're new, I would love for you to take a second and glance around my videos to see if there's anything of interest to you. And if you're a returning friend, I'm so delighted that you've decided to make me a part of your day again. In today's video, I wanted to take a minute to talk about jumps that are low power but have very fun, sometimes even setting shifting perks. I have a few examples in mind, and as I show them to you, I think what I mean by this is going to become abundantly clear, but I think that it's even more fun when a perk is very cheap and is also undoubtedly one of the strongest things in the setting, just because of the nature of jump chains. I think it's very easy for a jumper to become overpowered and to visit overpowered settings. As a matter of fact, many of my jumps are very, very, very powerful, but I like it a lot more when a jump that you would think isn't very high power has something that is just paradigm shifting, a perk that is so silly that doesn't really feel like it makes sense, but is still something that is a must-have. It's even better when it is something that is faithful to the setting, but when you take it away from the setting, it becomes a whole other level of silliness. We're going to go ahead and start off this conversation by showing you one of my favorite ever perks from generic Macabre Carnival. We are now in generic Macabre Carnival. This is a jump by Quiet Loving Man. It is a phenomenal jump that I genuinely recommend. Anyone who is interested in spooky carnival vibes, check out. My favorite origin is the Master of Ceremonies origin, but the perk that we're going to be taking a look at is actually from Sideshow Performer. So we're going to go ahead and head on down to it. I think that a lot of people would be interested in this jump if they knew about it. It's got a lot of very fun, spooky vibes, and I often visit it early in my chains now that it exists and now that I know about it. But the perk that we're taking a look at is the Dangerous Outline perk. This perk is phenomenal. And given that it is only 100 choice points, it is a god tier perk. Even if this was something that was a capstone perk, the most expensive perk in an origin, I think this would be worth it even if you didn't take this origin. But given that this is the freebie for Sideshow Performers, what a phenomenal perk. What this does is it makes you an uncannily good marksman. You are able to use any projectile weapon, able to snipe or outline a target at the very edge of any device's range. You will never miss so long as you are within range, so long as it's physically possible for your projectile to hit a target, unless your projectile is somehow diverted mid-flight. And this is the part that I think is the more important part, at least for me and for my jumpers. Conversely, you are never struck by any projectile that is smaller than yourself. It can be overt, stopping bullets an inch from your nose, or covert, a knife veering just slightly and thus missing you completely. This is so goddamn good. I am astounded at how incredibly strong this perk is, given this jump's very nature, because this is a completely mundane jump, unless you take drawbacks. Now, if you take drawbacks or do like a scenario or something, this jump very quickly becomes not mundane and thus significantly more dangerous. But if you come here and you only use the 1,000 points that you have with zero drawbacks, zero funny business in terms of like other things, this is a completely normal world. And with this, you are able to leave with essentially projectile immunity with like some important caveats. There are a lot of projectiles that are bigger than people. I don't think that a lot of folks realize the size of some projectiles in like fantasy media. And there are some projectiles that can still mess you up if they land really close to you, like a grenade. Now, that said, with the grenade example specifically, there are some types of grenades that are a lot better at ignoring the important stuff that this perk does. A grenade that does like a flashbang will still be very effective. A Molotov cocktail that lands next to you, the glass that shatters won't do anything, but like the force of the explosion and the fire can still damage you. With regular fragmentation grenades, there is an element of force in addition to the shrapnel. So there are projectiles that can still mess you up, even in a completely mundane world, but the ability to say no to getting shot from just about any regular, mundane, real-world gun. The ability to ignore cannon fire unless cannon fire messes up the space around you, that kind of thing is just wild. I think that it's very easy to both overrate and underrate this perk, but given what it is, given the fact that it only costs 100 points, what a god tier perk this is. I really like it. I grab it every single time I come here, and I often come here early because my jumpers like to go to settings where ranged weapons are like a real thing that is dangerous. They like to go to settings like Breath of the Wild where there's enemies with bows and arrows. They like to go to like Fallout where guns are hilariously commonplace. Those types of settings. John Wick where guns are very commonplace. Kill Bill, where guns are very commonplace. So having a perk like this in your back pocket completely shifts your ability to do danger assessment and your ability to just kick ass in these jumps. Obviously, by itself, this doesn't give you a whole lot of fighting stuff unless you are a ranged specialist. But even the fighting that it does give you, the marksman stuff, that is incredibly handy. I really like this perk. This is a very chill jump to come into, potentially. Although if you take the right kinds of drawbacks, it becomes a lot less chill. But this is just a great example of what I mean about how even a cheap perk from a low power jump can be absolutely paradigm shifting. We are now in the jump for Kill Bill, which is a jump by Greenie. I think that this is a fantastic jump. I come here usually pretty early with my jumpers for the sake of getting the perk that I'm about to show you, which is a part of the Bride origin. Funnily enough, my jumpers tend to either grab the Viper or the Specialist as their origins, and they just grab this one Bride item because it's a little too good to give up, in my opinion, and is in fact the main reason why my jumpers tend to come here. Let's go ahead and talk about it. We are now just scrolling on down. It is called Inverse Ninja Law, and the way that this perk works is that it punishes enemies who dare to try and action economy you. Essentially, when enemies try to attack you in groups, the more of them there are, the more of them that are going to suffer for this. There are a bunch of different perks that allow you to fight groups of enemies without getting tired or anything like that, and make it so that if no members of an army could defeat you, then the army can't defeat you. But this is one of the only perks I've seen that actively punishes enemies for having the audacity of trying to just sort of burn you out by throwing mobs of enemies at you. What this does is it causes you to have essentially the Dynasty Warrior thing of your attacks do a whole bunch of damage and can defeat entire groups of enemies by making it so that the more enemies you have to face at one time, the worse they're going to be for it. This doesn't stop special foes like mid-boss enemies or boss enemies who are attacking from doing more, but it does punish them the more severely they've tried to outnumber you. I think that almost any jumper could benefit from this, even if a jumper jumper doesn't grab it by going to Kill Bill, I think that this is worth being allowed to mail order. And for those of you who don't know, the mail order system is a special home rule by Cliff, who is a well-known jump commentator, jump supplement maker, and member of the community. Cliff C999, I think it's only 3 nines. I hope it's not 4. And if it is, I apologize, Cliff, who has made a whole bunch of special home rules that people really like. The mail order one is something that allows you to purchase perks from jumps that you yourself have not visited. I normally don't use it because it feels... I don't love it for my jumpers. It feels a little too overpowered, but I'll make exceptions from time to time. And if there's ever been an exception that I'd make, it's been for this, because any adventure jumper would benefit from this. Any combat jumper, any jumper that is actually going on like violent adventures, going to places like D&D or going to Fallout, going to any place where combat is a regular expected part of life. Hell, even places like Minecraft where combat is an expected part of life would stand to benefit from this. It would be a very good perk to have. Now, this is one of the more expensive perks that I was thinking of when I had this idea for a video. 400 points is a lot, and this setting is also a little bit dangerous if you are just a normal person who is early jumping here. But if you have enough stuff that you can stand being here, that you can survive it, and if you come here without drawbacks, this is a perfectly survivable, just regular world where action scenes happen a little bit more often and where violence is a little bit more over the top, but you yourself are not likely to be affected by said violence if you take the right origin and the right perks and you just sort of vibe. So this is a super safe world to come to as long as you know enough about the setting to know what to avoid and to know what to be cautious for. And it comes with a phenomenal adventure perk that will absolutely be worth its weight in points if you actually go to settings where combat is a part of life. So as you can see, the right kinds of jumps, even low power ones, can have fun perks that can snowball in truly ridiculous ways. Whether it is the ability to be untouchable to bullets over in the generic Macabre Carnival, or the ability to make entire armies of enemies tremble before you when you deal singular blows and somehow manage to destroy 17 different people. There are a lot of fun benefits to going to low power jumps and finding the right builds. Now, obviously, it can sometimes be tricky to do all of that, and low power settings are not without their own dangers. Generic Macabre Carnival becomes wildly dangerous if you tack on the right drawbacks. The same can be said for Kill Bill. Kill Bill especially has some pretty nasty drawbacks that are, in my opinion, priced a little too low for the ways that they change and touch you. I actually had a jumper, Lucas, the jumper from A New Chain, which is a story that I write that gets published to various places, can go to Kill Bill, and in order for him to get the stuff that he wanted, which was a Viper build, that was his origin, and also Inverse Ninja Law, he had to take on some pretty not great drawbacks. It was a rough time for that jumper while he was there, at least on like the day-to-day level. In the story, I mostly focused on the big plot threads rather than focusing on the minutia of his life. But he, at that point, already had enough experience fighting and stuff where he was able to overcome the real disabilities that he was straddled with while he was in the jump, and he left it a lot more powerful with new friends and also with new items and with Inverse Ninja Law, which is just a phenomenal perk. I genuinely cannot recommend that one enough. But yeah, as you've seen here, there are a range of perks that you can get by going to low power jumps, and with the right perks in mind and the right jumps in mind, you can create something that can hit way above its weight class. I am especially fond of Dangerous Outline. I think that Dangerous Outline is one of my favorite perks ever, especially given the cost. I always gush about it whenever I have the opportunity to, and I'm so glad that I was able to have that opportunity today. I hope that by looking at some of the jumps that I've recommended, whether it's in this video or in other videos, you are able to grow as a jumper and you're able to find new ways to create silly combos that have a blast in a wide range of settings. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, but I hope that y'all are having a wonderful day and I can't wait to hear from you in the comments down below.